Welcome to another episode. Today we're going to be building my wife's arrows for her hunting rig, but this is going to be good for about any short draw or women's bow build. So I'm going to talk you through what kind of specs I like for those kind of builds. We're going to go through, build her entire arrows. We'll talk a little bit about the weight and stuff like that and kind of go from there. But pardon the noise, we have to have the garage door up a little bit because it has been in the high 90s the last few days and it is hot here in the garage. So you're gonna hear some stuff from outside, but we need to get this done. It's getting close to hunting season. We need to get these built. So let's jump into it. So first off, for any short draw person or woman or anything like that you're gonna be building an arrow for, I would consider this any arrow that's towards the shorter draw cycles, which is like that 23 to like 26 inch draw, maybe 26 and a half inch draw, something where your arrow is going to be 25 inch arrow, something like that. I would definitely go with an arrow that is going to be a very light GPI arrow. In this case, we love Eastons. We shoot Eastons a lot. I do, my buddies do. We have both of our wives now shooting Eastons. So the Easton 5.0s, this arrow, I believe it's like 6.4 GPI, somewhere around that. I'll be able to tell when we open it up and I can actually look at the arrows and the specs a little bit. So somewhere in the 6s for the GPI, I believe. So very light grain or GPI arrow. And then what that'll do is it'll allow you to keep in the light arrow, add more weight up front where it matters, because you're not shooting super fast with those short draws anyways. So you're gonna be able to put the weight where it matters, is up in the front of the arrow, and that because of that, you'll be able to make up some of that weight, keep as good a speed as you can for that setup, and you will also be able to get maximum penetration with putting that weight up in the front of the arrow compared to in the actual spine itself. So we are going to be building these arrows. If you don't want to go with the Easton 5.0s, there's other arrows like the Victory HLRs. The HLRs, I believe, in a 400, 500 spine arrow is going to be a smaller, lighter GPI that'll work really well for it. And there's also I believe they're the RIP XVs, which I know a lot of people use for tack, but those are another one that we were looking. They're extremely light for the arrow too. So that would be another good option for a women's build. So like I said, we're using the Easton 5.0s for this. And when you open these up, these should come stock with the half outs. And these half outs right here, they should be, yep, 50 grain stainless steel half outs. So these are going to be great. You're going to get good GPI, probably somewhere in the, I'd say 15-ish percent GPI, while keeping her weight, total weight, about 340 grains total, maybe 350 depending on if the lighted knock situation and wraps and all that, which for her should put her bow speed somewhere around that 240 to 250 FPS, which for 25-inch draw and 55-pound draw weight, that's pretty good. So anyways, let's get to building these. So first thing we need to do is get her exact arrow length. So luckily I built some arrows for my buddy's wife, some of the same Easton 5.0s, keep everything consistent between both of them, so if they want to sell or we want to trade or whatever arrows, we can, because they're pretty much the same build. But anyways, I've got one of his arrows that I'm currently building for his wife, and let's see if the draw length works for her too. So I'm gonna have her draw back, don't shoot, but just we're gonna draw back, kind of mark where we want the arrow to go. So cast, draw back. So as you can see right there, it's already right in the middle of the riser, which is going to be good. So I'd say that's a good length. Cast, you can let down. Which, that length, something to keep in mind. So cast, for women specifically, a lot of them don't like to have your arrow as tucked back as far as you can, like what some men like doing with their arrows, just because they don't feel as comfortable with it. So I believe her arrow was somewhere around there when she drew back, halfway through the riser with a broadhead. It's going to be sticking out here in front of her hand. So, and that's one thing you want to make sure to see whoever's going to be shooting the arrows. If it's your wife, if it's your buddy, I don't know, whoever it is, you always want to make sure where they want to have the tip of their arrow at. So me, I like having it over the center of my riser, cutting it back as short as I can so that I can maximize my weight up front. For this, we want to still keep a little bit of weight on there, so we're going to keep it right in the middle of the riser. That way the broadhead sticks out at the front of her fingers instead of sitting over top of the riser and behind her fingers and all that. Makes her feel a little bit more comfortable. So let's get the arrows cut. For the sake of the video, I'm going to do only 6 arrows built right now, and going to do another 6 later whenever I can get it a little bit cooler or possibly inside. So we're only going to do 6 for now, but let's get these set up same length as what the arrows are right now. Right there should be good. So we're at about 24.5. So let's get these, we'll go ahead with 6 arrows. Let's get them cut. All right, 6 arrows cut, all right there, the same length. Usually for these arrows, since these are not match grade arrows, I usually try to cut some off the back, some off the front, but Cass is probably going to be shooting mechanicals or hybrid broadheads this year, so it's not going to be as big of a deal having like the absolute straightest arrow possible, and she's only going to be shooting 20 yards. So not as worried about that. These arrows are still going to be just fine because if I spin them, I guarantee, or I probably would guarantee that these are going to all spin pretty good. So we're not going to spin them, but going to grab them. We're going to square off the end, and I always just throw it right here on this brush to kind of get a little bit of the extra carbon out of the arrow. All right, so 6 arrows are squared. Got a little bit of that carbon out of there. There's a little bit of carbon left in the arrow. I'm not worried about it. That gives that glue, so a little bit of something to hold on to in there, but I'm not that worried. I've never had arrows pull out with hot melt or inserts pull out with hot melt, so not worried there, but let's continue the process. Okay, so Cass did decide she wanted some arrow wraps, so we ordered these from Adam's Precision Archery for her. She picked them out. We are going to be doing these wraps for her. Usually I'm not big on wraps because it adds weight in the back of the arrow, which isn't great, but her arrows are short enough that adding a little bit of weight to it because of the small GPI isn't going to be that big of a deal. So we're going to throw these on there. One thing to consider before doing arrow wraps and doing your fletching is the clocking of your arrow. So her bow is a left-handed bow. She's right-handed, but she's left eye dominant, so she shoots a left-handed bow, or left-handed bow. Most left-handed bows naturally spin the arrow right off the string, the way it's served, the way it's spun there, the strings are twisted, all that. But she had custom strings put on, so a good rule of thumb is always shoot an arrow with an insert and a tip at about 5 yards. Mark your arrow in some way so you can see which way your arrow naturally spins off of the string. So since she had some aftermarket or custom strings put on there, we checked it. Her arrow is clocking left out of the bow, so we're going to do a left offset fletch on this. So let's get these wraps put on, and then we'll get fletching. So got some nail polish remover right here, just a paper towel. We're just going to wipe down the entire shaft, make sure there's no extra carbon like that. Make sure it's a nice clean surface that we're going to be putting those wraps onto, because the last thing you want is there to be a bunch of buildup and then you have adhesion issues with your wraps and them coming off. Usually when you're doing wraps, you want to have some sort of like soft surface to do it on. This is an OSB table, so it's not completely firm, but you need something that's going to flex a little bit. I've never had issues with it though, so we're just going to throw them on right here. So these wraps are some of the stickiest wraps that I've ever seen. So I like doing this, so then when I spin it, it spins the Easton logo straight down into the crease. So I'll put a little bit on it, inspect, make sure it's good, do a little seal. So let's see, where's the crease? The crease is a little bit off, but not bad. It's going to be right there in that area that the left helical is going to go in, so not worried about that. So one wrap down. Let's get the others done. All the wraps are on. Now it is time to fletch them. So as you guys can see, the wraps are pretty crazy colored. It's got teal and pink on it though. So we are going to be using right here, I got some teal and hot pink AAE hybrid 26s. I love these fletchings. They work really good for me. So gonna be using those for those, but figured let's go a disco party with it. Throw on some white on it too. So we're gonna use a white for the knock or the top vane. That way she can really see which one's the top, every arrow. And that way if she's hunting with them, she can see blood on the arrow too. So there's no white other than the Easton logo on these. So I like there being a little bit of white or a little bit more white to see the blood of what kind of blood we got. So we're gonna use white as the top vane, and then we'll use a blue and a pink on the others. So let's get fletching. How I like doing arrows is I have this set 3 fletch and I have it at a 3-degree offset with a standard clamp. That's just how I've always done them. It's how I like doing them. So I'm gonna prime it. I know AAEs, they say you don't need to prime them. I still do, and I've never had adhesion issues. So I'm gonna continue to do them. If you guys want to prime or no prime, that is totally on you. So got this. Make sure it's really nice and dry, and I do a really thin line down the vane. I would rather have a little bit excess glue than not enough, because you can always wipe it off, but you cannot add more afterwards if you need. So we're gonna put it right there, grab paper towel and just wipe any excess off. I always go through and I'll just wipe real quick right down in between. Doesn't look too bad. So right there, white, teal, and pink. What do you think?
I like it.
All right, so we're going to set it upside down right here, let it dry. Gonna do these other 5 real quick because it's hot, and I will see you when these other 5 are done. So it is actually the next day. I fletched these arrows, it got late, and it got hot in here, and I couldn't take it anymore. So I let these arrows, the fletchings, dry for a little bit, and it's the next morning, so we're gonna finish up these arrows. So as you can see, these 6 have the wraps, have the veins on them, and really all that's left is to get the inserts glued into them. So for inserts, you can use glue like you're using for your fletchings. I've used that before, no issues. We are gonna be using hot melt. So these are just regular industrial hot melt that you can get at any of the craft stores. Not the regular hot melt that you get at craft stores. There's some that's labeled like a heavier duty. So that's what I use. I can't really tell the difference between using this and using the hot melt that you buy on archery shops, except price. So for something like these, she's not going to be shooting fast enough into things hard enough to be able to worry about how hard it's going to be pulling out. And I've used them on my arrows, no issues, so we're going to use this on her arrows. So like I said at the beginning, we've got these 50 grain half outs from Easton that these arrows come with. So there's 4, 5, 6.
And yeah, all we're gonna do is we're just gonna heat this up. Gonna heat up the insert a little bit and throw them on in there. Also, don't laugh at my candle. I need to get a heat gun to do this, but for now, the candle works just fine. And then I always like to leave arrows sitting upright to dry. That way all the glue evenly falls down and coats the edges of that insert inside the arrow. That way it really nice and seals it in there. All right, and while these dry, I'm gonna go ahead and go grab my arrow scale and we'll get a total weight of these with the field tips on and get a little bit of an FOC for them. So the first arrow that we did, the glue is dry, so we're just gonna pick that right on off of it. Got all that little crusty from the glue off. I've just got regular, just normal steel or aluminum, whatever these are, field tips for them. So field tip on, and there we go, guys. This is her total arrow, what she's going to be shooting this year. Try to get it in focus. So Easton 5.0 500 spine. She's shooting 25-inch draw and 55 pounds. For anybody that's shooting that 55 or under in 25-inch draw, 500 spine I think is going to be just fine. It tunes good out of her bow. So we will see if we do need to change to 400 after a little while, but for now I think 500 is going to be fine. So stock 50 grain stainless steel half out, 100 grains up front, wraps, and yeah, so let's get a total arrow weight of this. It is 337.8. So 337.8. Now let's get an FOC. Not sure if you guys can see that. I always use right here on Podium Archer's website. So point grain, 100 grains, insert 50, collar 0, weight screw 0, shaft weight in GPI 6.2. Shaft length 24 and 3/8. But let's just say, because with the knock, yeah, well, let's go 24 and a half. Wrap weights, they're roughly 4-ish grains. Wrap length 5-inch. Single vein, let's get a weight of one vein real quick. I believe it's 8.5, but we'll throw in one just to be safe. 8.4. So we'll go with 8.4. So 8.4. Number of veins, 3. No bushing weight. The nocks are 8.2 grains. Go back through, make sure everything's good. Point weight 100, insert weight 50, collar none, screw weight none, GPI 6.2, 24 and a half. Weight. So if we hit calculate, 339 grains is what we get with that, and 339, it's about 1 grain off, but that could be that I went with 24 and a half over 24 and 3/8. That'll add a little bit right there. So not that big of a deal being 1 grain off, but as you guys, I think, can see right here, 18.23% FOC, which is going to be great for her arrow setup. So 18.3% FOC is going to be great because she's shooting these arrows. My buddy has some almost identical to these built. They're 339 grains. She was able to shoot at 243 feet per second. So not getting crazy speeds for a 25-inch draw and 55 pounds is pretty good speed.
So being that light of draw weight and length though, and with this arrow, 18.3% FOC is amazing. Somewhere in between that 15 to 18 is what I would say to use for short draw and lighter weight draw lengths or people that are drawing. So that's just how I feel about it. If you're that low of poundage, you want to maximize as much penetration as you can. And what's the two best ways to do that? The number one way is to increase FOC, and of course, number two way is to be making sure you have the sharpest broadhead you can when you're hunting. So in our case, she may be shooting these beast broadheads right here. If she's shooting mechanicals, it's probably going to be a beast broadhead, or it's going to be a sever. If she's shooting fixed blades, I've yet to decide on what she's going to shoot. I've got to look into that a little bit, but I'm thinking right now she's probably going to be shooting the beast or severs, if I had to guess at this moment. So we'll see. We're going to get her out, shoot with these arrows a little bit, see how everything goes. If you guys want to see a video over her bow build, let me know and I can go over everything with her bow. So anybody that's short draw or any women out there that would like to see it, let me know. I'd be happy to do a video over that. So if you've made it this far, thank you for watching this far. We will be doing my hunting arrow build next, because although I have all my arrows, or a bunch of arrows, I don't have any set up specifically for hunting. So that's gonna be next for me. So anyways, thank you for watching. If you're watching this far, we'll see you in the next one.